Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Dave Adams. It feels good to be back after a long while. I took a break and now I'm back. So in today's video, we're going to do a sliding nav. It's going to be vertical. We're just going to do something like this. So stay tuned. We're going to use Tailwind and JavaScript. So let's get right into this video without wasting much time. Okay, so as you can see, I have my project set up right here. If you've been an avid follower of this channel, I've taken you through how to set up Tailwind, basically all the basics. So now we're going to build upon that, and then you're going to see that in the upcoming videos. So if you do not know anything about Tailwind at all, I have a video on how to set Tailwind up, how to build your first project using Tailwind. I mean, there are a couple of videos, about 3 or so. I'll link them all in the description, and I'm sure I'll put it at the top. I'll put a direct link at the top to one of those videos. I mean, the very first video of Tailwind, so that you can get a grasp of what Tailwind is all about. So basically, I have my project set up here. So Tailwind comes with these files: the input.css, your outputs. What I've added is the script, the JavaScript file, and my HTML file, as well as a few images that we're going to use here. So we have our HTML file set up here. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, also I quickly want to chip in that I have my my HTML file linked to my output.css file, as well as my JavaScript file. Okay. So the very first thing we want to do is to create a relative div. So this is just a shortcut to create a div with a class of relative. And this is a Tailwind class. Okay, within that, we want to have our image, our background image. So we're just creating a dummy hero section, sort of. Okay, so we want to create a div which spans the width of the device screen. Okay, so that'll be width hyphen screen. That's also a Tailwind class. Okay, so when I hover over it, you can see what it actually stands for: 100% viewport width. Okay, one extension that helps with Tailwind is the TailwindCSS IntelliSense in Visual Studio Code. It's right here. So if you do not have it, you can install it. So it gives you hints about what certain classes do in Tailwind. Okay, so we have our width screen. Within that, we want to have our image. Okay, now for this image, we want it to have a class of width full, because we want it to fill up the full width of its parent. So width full stands for 100% width. When I hover over it, you can see it right there. Okay, now the source of this image is going to be from the public folder, and we're going to have our bg.jpg, and we're going to see our background image. Okay, so alternative text is right there. We're going to see our background image. Good. Okay, so we're going to go into our browser. Good. So this is our background image. As you can see, it's a beautiful woman, yeah, with a bit of action. Okay, so we have our background image. The next thing we want to do is to have another div underneath. So let me just shift this so we can focus on the code. With this div, it's going to have a fixed position. Also going to have 100% width. Also going to have, it's also going to stick to the top. So when you use fixed positioning, you have to use top, bottom, right, and left. And we're going to give it a padding of 4 all around, and that's 4 by 4, so like 16 pixels all around. It's going to be a flex and then we want to justify the content to the end. So this is a shortcut to create a div with all these classes. And then when I'm done, I want to create an image with an ID of nav-toggle. So this is basically going to be the button that will toggle the nav bar. Also, that is going to be from the public folder, and that is going to be the hamburger. Okay, and then we can just copy this ID and paste it in the alt text. So alternative text. Okay, so let's go into our browser to see what that looks like. Okay, yes, it's very large. Okay, so what we're going to do to that, let me display that again. This is our hamburger menu, or our nav toggle, and we're trying to reduce the size of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a class here, and with the class we're going to make the height 32 pixels. Okay, it's right here. So let's go back into the browser, and it should be at the corner here. So that's what we want it to look like. Finally, we want to style our nav, our side nav. Okay, so we're going to go back. Oh, I'm not commenting today. That's bad of me. So nav. Okay, so that's a comment to indicate the beginning of the nav. So with nav, we want it to have an ID of side nav. Okay, we also want it to have multiple classes. So we want it to have absolute positioning. We want it to have a background of white. We want it to stick to the top, so top 0. We also want it to be right 4. Okay, you know what? I'll ditch that for now. We want it to be on large screens, be like 25% of the width of the screen, and we also want it to span the whole screen. So we'll do bottom 0 as well. So with absolute positioning, you don't use you don't use percentages, especially for the height. What you do is you use left, right, bottom, and top. So if you want it to span across the whole screen, or let's say if you want it to span across the width of the screen, you can do left 0, right 0, and it will span across. Same for top and bottom. So if you want it to fill the whole screen, you do top 0, bottom 0, left 0, right 0, and that will do that. So currently I'm trying to make it span the height of the screen, and that's why I did top 0 and bottom 0. It will also have a padding of 16 pixels, and it will have a small shadow. Okay, so shadow S, and these are all Tailwind classes. And now that we have the nav, we also want to have a close icon. Okay, so let's go into the browser and see how that looks. Okay, so it's on the side now. It's on the side. Good. It's on the side because by default it will stick to the left. Okay, so what we want to do is to say right 0. Okay, so we'll come back to this class because we want to hide it. So now it's on the right. Okay, and it's covering the toggle button. Okay, so within this nav, we want to have our close button. Okay, and that will be right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a div with a class of width for, or 100% width. There's going to be a flex div, and we're going to justify the content to the end so that the close button is on the right. Okay, and within that we are going to have our image yet again. We're going to give it an ID. So I'll just reverse here. It's going to have an ID of nav close, and it's going to have the same height or the same size as the toggle button, which is this. I think I made a mistake. So it's going to be nav close h8. Good. Yeah, so that'll be it. So this time also going to be from the public folder. where I've kept all the images close, and we're going to say close icon for the alt text. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go back into the browser and check again, and you can see that we have the close button right here. Okay, and then finally we're going to put some dummy links just to simulate what a real world application will look like. Okay, so with a P, would that work? Times 3. Okay, let's see. Good. So I've just duplicated 3 A tags. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do that. Let's say this is the home link. Come here, do the same, do about, and then lastly for this one I'll do contacts. So these are like dummy links. Okay, good. So let's see how they look. Yeah, let's see how they look in the browser. So yes, we have our dummy side nav. Okay, so now that we have that, what we are going to do is we're going to hide the side nav. So we're going to say go to the right. So now what we've done is we've negated the value of the right. So we are subtracting from the right side. Okay, and this time I want it to subtract by 100%. Okay, so what we're going to have in the browser is that this is going to be hidden now. So it's actually not hidden, like it hasn't disappeared, it's just hiding on the right side, which we can't see because there isn't any overflow. Okay, so now that we have that, we can go into our JavaScript file. Okay, so we're going to initialize all the variables that we imported, that we are going to need, or that we are going to import. So this is variable initialization. Good. So we're going to say const nav toggle will be equal to document dot query selector. Okay, that comes with this. And since it's an ID of nav toggle, we're going to use the pound sign or the hash sign, and we're going to say nav toggle. And that is supposed to match with this button, which is here. That's the hamburger button. Okay. Yes. Wow. Yeah, that's it right here. Okay. With an ID of nav toggle. So going back into our script. Let me just clean this up a bit. Good. The next one is going to be the nav itself. So const, let me be a bit efficient here. Let me copy this. I'm going to paste here. I'm going to get rid of this part. And we had an ID of side nav. Good. And lastly, we're going to have our close button. Okay. And then nav close. Good. And then that'll be nav hyphen close. Good. So we can test all this within the browser to see if we've actually picked up our elements. Okay. So we can do nav toggle for starters. We are just passing in the variables here, and it should be logged into the browser's console. Okay. So if we do F12, let me get out of this menu. Yeah, good. So we can go to our console and you can see it right here. Okay. Yes, it's highlighted when I hover over the text here. Same way if I do nav just nav. It should also output the element, although we might not see it. Okay, it's also right here. And then finally for nav, close. Good. That should be right there as well. Okay, good. So now that we are done with that, what do we want to do? We want to add an event to an event listener to the nav toggle. So nav toggle dot add event listener. So we want it to listen for an event. Okay, and the event we want the nav toggle to listen for is the click event. Okay, so this takes into parameters. We have our function. Okay, with our function, we're just going to run it as soon as this button is clicked. Okay, so what we want to do is to access the class list. Okay, now with the class list, we want to remove this class, this particular class that hides the nav on the side. We want to take it off. Okay, so that now it comes to the left side. Okay, so yeah, so let's see what happens when we do that. Good. Okay, so let's click it. Let's see. Okay, so it comes to the left side. Good. And that's not what we want to happen. So we're just going to copy this and then we're going to paste it here. And this time we're going to say add. So we're going to add a class when that the nav toggle is clicked, and that will be right 0. As I said, the default is left 0, and we should have it on the right side. Okay, good. But now this button isn't functioning. Okay, so what we want to do is to copy this and just paste it here, and then just change the name of the variable. So we are now attacking here, and then we're going to switch it up. So now we can change this to add, and we can switch this to remove, to do the direct opposite. Okay, so let's go back into our browser to see. We click, it comes, we close, it goes. Okay, finally, to make this a bit to make the transition smooth a bit, what we want to do is to go into our input.css. So I'll just copy the nav, the ID of the nav, which is side nav. I'll go into my input.css file, and I will do my pound sign and then the ID and then my brackets. What I want to say is transition. So with the transition, it takes in this case it takes 2 parameters, which is the time we want, the duration of the transition, and the kind of transition we want. So we want it to be 0.3 seconds or 3 milliseconds. So when we click, it should slide, and then when we close, it should go away. Yes, so that's about it. That's about it for today's video. There'll be more JavaScript and Tailwind and a lot of projects, so stay tuned, and thank you for watching.